Hi, Justin. Welcome.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Good.
Good to see you. Hi, Brad Carliff, Coins Plus, Cincinnati, Ohio. We've been a retail coin store since the 1970s here in town, and we have 3 locations.
So what actually got you into collecting in general before you were in the business?
My parents bought me some Whitman folders when I was 5 to kind of get me to sit down and shut up and not run around the house so much. And I kind of started doing it, and it was like, hey, if I need it in my album, Mom and Dad will give me the money. So I started punching them into the albums, and it kind of just took from there.
Okay, cool. What's your thoughts on buying and selling like gold and silver right now? Like the current demands for precious metals that you see from your customers, or do you think it's a good idea to invest in silver and gold right now?
It's been unbelievably busy in silver and gold over the last 2 years. It's just recently turned where we're buying more than we're selling, but that happens. I think people overbought thinking the banks were all going to go under, and now they've decided, oh, I have house repair or car repair, and you know, they have to back up a little bit. But much like having a cash reserve, I think it's important to have a bullion reserve. And part of your wealth should be in hard assets. It's my opinion. Okay. So I've got obviously part of my wealth in hard assets as well as cash and other traditional accounts.
Right, right. What do you think online, like a lot of videos on YouTubers, they call them silver stackers, people that just like really collect bullion and stuff like that. What do you think is the best type of silver to stack or collect? Or is there a best?
Well, I always ask people, what is your end game? If your end game is you think the economy is going to collapse and you're going to need to spend your silver and gold, then you should buy 90%, dimes, quarters, and halves. It's the smallest quantity of known silver that you can buy, and it's easily bartered then. If you think that someday you're going to sell your silver and gold and take cash back or money back and reinvest it in something else, then there are better options. And the options are going to change a little bit depending on what customer. If there's a customer that is buying huge amounts, 100-ounce bars make sense. If they're not buying huge amounts, buying 1-ounce rounds makes more sense. I'm not a big fan of silver eagles at huge premiums right now. The premiums have come down a lot in the last 3 or 4 months, but still, personally, if silver goes crazy and doubles or triples in the next 5 years, any silver brought into me is going to go in the same garbage can, and then the garbage can is going to go to the smelter, and it's going to be turned into big bricks that they put on the shelf. So you're going to lose the premium on silver eagles and other things. Now, that's not to say that buying a few isn't terrible. Some people come in and buy different designs. They collect animals on, you know, the different silver coins, but they're not buying hundreds of each design. If you're doing that, I would stick to just 1-ounce rounds and 10-ounce bars. That's kind of what I've done. And you get more silver for your money that way.
Okay. How often do you see fake gold and fake silver, counterfeit coins, things like that come through the store?
More and more every day. Less silver than gold, actually, and most of the counterfeit gold is old counterfeit gold, stuff that was done in the 50s and 60s, what we call, you know, the Saudi Arabian pieces that went into collections in the 60s and 70s before there were certification services. Okay. So those are coming out now as people pass on and pass their collections down, and they're being sold. So those pieces are coming out into the marketplace. That's and they're made out of gold, so they're still tradable for their gold weight, but they don't have any numismatic value.
Okay, okay. A lot of my viewers ask about cleaning coins. It's like one of my most asked questions. That's what I always recommend.
So I tell people the only reason to clean a coin is if what's on the surface of the coin is worse than what the cleaning is going to do to the coin. There are ways of conserving coins and doing it correctly, but even the professionals get it wrong sometimes. So as an amateur, most people have a tendency to screw up their coins. So just don't. see a professional, let them give you some advice. If it's a really good coin, send it to PCGS or NGC and use their conservation service. I've used their services numerous times. Yes, it's a little expensive, but most of the time they do a good job. They've buggered a couple up that I've sent in, and I've been very unhappy with the result, but that's kind of the chance you take.
Right. So can you talk about like how that like devalues your coin tremendously, especially like a key date or a rare
Sure.
coin?
Well, think about an antique car or an antique piece of furniture. The original paint, even though it's not perfect, is better than a perfect new paint job, or stripping your 1780 highboy and putting a new finish on it. And that reduces the value. Same way with coins. So you're stripping off part of the surface of the coin, and you're making it, in most cases, look unnatural. So if you have a low-grade coin that looks like a proof, everybody knows it's been cleaned. There's different levels of cleaning and different levels of destruction that you're going to bring about on your coin. So as an amateur at home, I would tell everybody, just don't.
Okay.
The only thing is if you've got a coin with PVC on it from one of the old Coin Master albums, and it's green and it's sticky, you can use, now get pure fingernail polish remover, pure acetone, or go to the hardware store and get pure acetone in the paint department and use a cotton ball and very lightly, and then rinse it off, because acetone will not do anything to the surface of the coin. It won't do anything to the toning that's on the coin. It'll just lift off surface contaminants. So if you're hell-bent on doing something, that should be as far as you go. Going anything beyond that is going to cause destruction to the coin.
What would you say for metal detectors when you get a coin with a big glop of dirt on there? They just usually spray it with water. Is that what you would recommend?
Sure. I mean, water is a non-corrosive substance, but if you use water in a brush,
Right.
okay, think about it for a second. The grit that gets into the brush acts like sandpaper, and it'll actually scratch the surface of the coin. Now, most coins that come out of the ground are already corroded beyond collectability.
Sure.
So generally, you're not going to do tremendous harm to those, but still, it's always best to seek a professional's advice.
Okay. Selling coins, which I'm sure you're an expert in. That is one of my most asked questions of all time. How do I sell my coins? Can you talk about your shop and how you buy coin collections from people?
We've been in business for 50 years. People come in, lay them in front of us. We make an offer and write a check on the spot if it's accepted. Okay. So, we take everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, all together. And we have markets for each one, but we buy entire collections. Okay. You should not let people pick and choose, because what happens is, of course, you'll sell your best coins.
Right.
And then what you'll have left is stuff nobody really kind of wants. So that's going to have to be sold at a heavy discount. So you make sure you leave the good stuff in, because the buyer is going to want to get things they really want in order to take things that they don't really want at a fair price.
That's good advice. I like that. That's good. Do you see a lot of people come in like thinking that their coin is a mint error, and you're like, oh, please, no, it's not. It's not a double die, I promise you.
Now, I know you're Mr. Internet, but my best advice to people is to get off of the internet for the get-rich-quick schemes. The clickbait, it's awful. None of that, 98% of that is not true. If it was easy to find thousands of dollars for the coins in circulation, we'd all be rich.
Right.
I don't look at my circulating coins, because to find one out of every million coins that's worth something isn't worth my time. Now, that's not to say that some people don't find something of interest, but they don't usually find something of value. And the double dies that they advertise on the internet and talk about and want you to look for, most of what you're finding is strike doubling, which is worthless.
Right.
So just don't. If you look at one of those sites and you see something and they're touting something as being so great and you think you have one, email them.
Yeah.
Let them worry about telling you that it's not what you think it is, or it's not really worth what they said it's worth.
I try to explain to people they are called rare coins because they are
For
rare.
a reason, that's right. Yeah, there's nothing in circulation today that is worthwhile.
Yeah.
And that's a very general statement. Every now and then people are going to find some things. You know, people search half-dollar rolls and find clad halves still and a few silver pieces, but it's the exception to the rule. But you're not going to find a 69 double die in a roll. I mean, yes, one person.
It's like
one
hitting the
person
lottery.
did. It's exactly like hitting the lottery. And if I'm going to waste my good luck, I'm going to want the $4 million or $10 million lottery, not the $50,000 69S double die.
So are you a mint error kind of collector, or do you collect everything?
Well, I collect bus coins by die marriage from the first U.S. Mint, half dimes through dollars.
Okay.
So that's my specialty. So that's what I actively collect. I accumulate other things. I have a box full of coins that I say is my talk box that I can take to schools or civic organizations, different places, and give a talk on a moment's notice, and lay the coins out and let people experience coins that may have been on the money changer's table when Christ turned it over in the temple. Or my favorite thing is to ask somebody, who's your favorite person in history? And when they tell me, I give them a coin that they could have handled. And that gives them a direct connection to their favorite person in history. So that seems to work very well and stimulates some conversation. Mint errors are cool. Real mint errors are cool. And most of what I like are striking errors, not, double dies are okay. Not one of my favorites, but I would much rather find a striking error, an off-center strike, double or flip over double, or something like that. I have a few off-metal strikes at the other store, which I think are very cool. I've always liked 11-cent pieces.
Okay.
Where already struck dime gets fed into the cent chamber and gets a cent strike over the top of an already struck dime. So those are pretty cool. Those are the kind of errors that are meaningful.
I think so too. Can you talk about how errors actually get released from the mint? I mean, some people think that, a lot of people comment on my videos and they say, a mint employee had to take that out and resell it, you know what I mean? Can you talk about how they get out? There
are some of those that get out that way, but basically, if you know that struck coins go into a pan basically with holes drilled in it that lets that size coin fall through. It's called a riddler, and it shakes. And so as long as the coin at some point can turn and fall through that hole, it'll go into a ballistic bag and get distributed. So that's how does an off-center coin get out? Well, it tilts up at some point and falls through the hole. They don't all lay perfectly flat. So the really wild stuff, when you see a clump of cents together that are 14 cents struck together.
It's kind of questionable.
Yeah, I'm thinking somebody helped that out the back door. But
like the double strikes that are, off center, obviously those aren't going into coin rolls. So those go into the bags, and then when they
break the bags, somebody there
discovers
them and takes them and sells them. Yes.
Okay.
So it's really, to me, neat that some of them get out. I think the mint's selling waffle coins now, which are coins that they've taken out and mutilated because they didn't meet standard. Well, the error guys probably won't want me to say this, but I think the mint's missing out on something. I think they could take naturally made errors and market them. And I think it would, in the long run, probably help the hobby, and let people know how it was made, put it out there with a description, or like they do with proof sets and mint sets, they sell them through their website. But they catch a lot of errors at the mint that go back and are destroyed. So maybe it's not such a bad idea maybe to take some of them out and allow collectors to have them. Now, I'm not saying to specifically make errors,
right? But
ones that are made naturally, why go to the expense of destroying them when there's a market for them?
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I know I've asked you this before, but what's your thoughts on a cashless society, and do you kind of fear that happening?
It won't happen in my lifetime because old fogies like us will not vote for anybody that kind of goes for a cashless society. We are virtually cashless. I mean, how many places do you go now that don't accept cash? I mean, if you go to any of the sports stadiums, they don't accept cash. So it's coming to a certain extent, and if it does, I think it'll hurt the hobby because much like stamp collecting, people don't use stamps anymore. Young people pay everything online, so they don't use a stamp. They don't know anything about stamps, and in 1975, when I started, stamps were a third of our business. Today, they're zero.
Yeah.
And you know that's a huge difference, and it all boils down to the fact that people don't use stamps anymore for the most part.
Okay. How much cash do you think one person should have, like out of the bank, maybe at home, and they're safe at one time? Is it a percentage? Is it a certain amount?
Whatever you're comfortable with. So I have a doctor friend, and one day I was sitting there talking to her, and I looked at her and I said, you use a debit card to buy your latte in the morning, don't you? And she goes, yeah. And I said, then I will bet that you have less than $20 in your purse and probably less than 10. And she went, yeah, what are you getting at? I said, well, what are you going to do when your debit card doesn't work? And she says, no, I have plenty of money. You don't understand. What are you going to do when your debit card doesn't work? And she looked at me and went, I says, if there's an attack on the U.S. banking system and it's shut down for a time period, or even if you're in a disaster area and there's no electricity and you've got a debit card, your debit card doesn't work.
Yep.
But if I've got a $5 bill, I get my bottle of water. You know, even if it's only $3.50 and I go, here's $5, keep the change, I want the bottle of water, I'm going to walk away with something. Sure. So having actual cash as an emergency stash is important. I can't quite put a figure on it because some people aren't comfortable with cash.
Right.
Other people are very comfortable with cash, but you have to have some place, obviously, at least moderately safe to keep it. So there are upsides and downsides to each situation. But I would say that, you know, people tell you that you need what? A year's worth of money outside of your retirement accounts in case something happens. I would think if you need to have at least a couple of months worth of cash for a bad scenario. I mean, the people in Florida that they have no electricity because of the hurricane, they can't use their debit card or their credit card,
right.
You know, and until, you know, and it's short-lived for most cases, but we don't know what the future is going to bring. I mean, if we have an electrical grid problem because we're using too much energy and it browns out, you can't use your debit card. If, like I said, God forbid, there's a hacking of the Federal Reserve System, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to shut it down until they can figure out how to stop it. In that time, if you want to eat or drink or trade or buy something, people are not going to take your IOU probably. You know, you might be able to write a check, but if you have cash, it's still trade. So cash is maybe not king anymore, but it's sure still a prince. So one thing you didn't bring up that some people bring up to me is, you know, why pre-33 gold versus bullion?
Yeah.
And you can look at it in the fact that gold was never confiscated in the U.S. You know, FDR made it sound like it was illegal to have gold, but the only way he made the New Deal work is to get gold back into the Treasury. So he had to really push hard to get it back. But it was always legal to own coins dated before 1933 in the U.S. In fact, the Austrians and Hungarians made 100 coronas dated 1915 well into the 1960s and 70s so that they were legal to own in the U.S. because they were dated before 1933, even though they were made after 33. So the old gold coins have always been legal to hold. So there are some people that think there could be a movement sometime to limit bullion. They're not going to come to your house and get your guns, and they're not going to come to your house and get your bullion. The only thing that could happen is someday it may be taxed differently, that modern bullion coins could be looked a little differently to the government than collectible 1930s and before U.S. gold. So some people like the added safety of that, and they're numismatically fun. You know, you can put together a set of saints without the rare dates. You know, I've had customers that come in and go, I'm going to buy any saint that I can get up to MS63 that costs me less than $5,000.
Okay.
All right? So that's your set. You've defined it. There's, I don't know, 18 or 20 or so coins that you can buy for your set, and they're all different dates and mint marks. They're all saints. They all cost you a little bit over $1 billion, and it's fun. So just because you collect saints doesn't mean you have to buy the 1929 and the 32. You can limit it. That's the beauty about collecting, is you can define your own collection. So you can put a dollar limit on what you're going to spend. You could say, I'm going to collect MS65 Morgan dollars that cost me less than $2,000 a piece. You've defined your collection. You don't have to buy a 93S, 92S, 03S, whatever, you know, the rare dates are, but you can build a fairly interesting collection within your parameters. You can do a year set of 5 Indians instead of the date and mint mark. And until you get to the 29, there's really nothing that you can't buy as far as a year goes.
Right.
So don't let a book or a website or a PCGS registry set define your collection. You get to do that. You can define it however you want. So I'm esoteric. My bust half dollar collection, I'm doing the die marriages, so there's 450 different in the series. My goal is to get as many as I can in XF.
Okay.
So I have 445 of the 450. They're not all XF, but my average is 39 point something, and I don't buy AUs to pull up my VFs. I do have a few AUs that I got over the years for one reason or another,
Right.
but my set is defined as I really want just nice original XF coins, and I try to get them fairly matching, and so that's how I define my set. And if somebody shows me an AU53, I'm not interested. It doesn't fit
the set,
the
yeah.
definition. So be bold enough to look at what you want to collect through your own eyes, and don't let the dealer, the certification company, the album company, or even the Red Book define what's a set for you. You can edit it and go in and do exactly what you want to do. And that's the great thing about numismatics. And some people just go, I'm going to buy things that are interesting to me, you know, and they really shotgun approach. They don't have a focused set. I don't think that's quite the best way to do things, but if that's what you want to do, all the more power to you. I have a shotgun approach to some things.
Yeah.
My talk box, I like to have coins with different stories. So, you know, when you can tell a story to a kid and hand them a coin that goes with the story, you know, and they kind of light up, or they are awed by, you know, the fact that you have something from 400 BC and they can put it in their hand and play with it, you know, that's kind of neat. So it's a direct connection to history, and that's what I take out of numismatics.
I really like the gold Indians.
The Indians are a great design. You know, the St. Gaudens 10 is very beautiful, but, you know, it is a Caucasian woman as Liberty with a headdress, but you get the Pratt designs in the 2.5s and 5s, and that's a real Indian.
Right.
And, you know, much like the Buffalo nickel. And so those are really great historical depictions of part of our nation's history.
Got some key dates over here.
A couple, yeah. Key dates sell pretty well, but we have a few in stock. We specialize in building collections for clients. So if you come in and tell me that you're collecting a particular series, I'll look at some of the coins you already have to kind of get a feel for how you look at coins. Because again, I want to build a collection that you want, not a collection that I want you to have. And if you're not doing it in a way that I think is beneficial for you, I'll have that conversation with you, but after having that conversation, if you say, I still want to collect cleaned AU Barber halves, well, then we'll find cleaned AU Barber halves for you. But so we've built numerous really great collections. I helped the guy put together the #1 PCGS registry set of bust dollars.
Really?
And he's got magnificent taste in coins. So he has 80 some of the 120 Bolander varieties, and most of his are AU. And they virtually all have great eye appeal. There are some varieties just don't come with good eye appeal. You gotta compromise sometimes, but so he has a very narrowly defined set that we've been working on. I have a person putting together bust dimes and uncirculated by JR numbers. So again, there's 120 some coins in the set, and he's missing one coin from having all of the marriages, but he's upgrading, his AUs to uncs now. Okay. So I've put together numerous Morgan dollar, piece dollar sets for customers. Just last year, I got in a magnificent PCGS 64 CAC 95 proof for a customer. It was a mind-blowing coin. It was a couple of minute hairlines away from, I think, a 6. But, if you hold it out here, it'll stand up with any coin. And I thought it offered great value. 64 cam, CAC, great coin. So, we do really expensive coins, and we have kids that come in and buy wheat cents and foreign coin grab bags. So I tell people when they say, what are you dealing? I said, anything from wheat cents through slugs. It's a little bit of everything. And we've had a little bit of everything over the years. Being in business for about 50 years, you have a chance to see a lot of different things.
What's your most requested item? Is it like silver eagles?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I guess it depends on whether you're talking about bullion or coins.
Right.
In coins, we probably sell more Morgan dollars than anything else. I mean, they're big silver coins, 100 and some years old, and they're not terribly expensive to get some of them. Half dollars are always popular, walking liberties especially. I like, again, the older coins, the coins from the first U.S. Mint, but just a cross-section of everything.
Okay. And what about bullion?
Bullion mostly are 1 ounce rounds that we sell, or, not too many companies make bars anymore. Most of them are doing 1 ounce rounds.
Right.
So that's the #1 thing that we sell. But we have bars, we have foreign silver coins. So there is a selection at all times of different types of bullion that you can buy.
Awesome. All right, thanks for having me, Brad. Hopefully we can come back, do another video. Can you talk about your store, your website, where you guys sell?
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in, and you're welcome anytime. You can go to coinspluscincy.com, CINCY, and see something about us. But we sell in person at the stores only. I'm a big believer that seeing a coin in hand is the best way to buy it. Online, you can hide a lot of problems. If you don't know exactly who you're dealing with online and how they look at coins, it can be a bit of a minefield. But when you get to hold it in your hand and experience the coin in hand, you then know all of its advantages and disadvantages. So please stop in sometime if you're in the area and say hi.
And don't forget to subscribe in the middle. Feel free to check out the videos to the left of me. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles, and this is where I disappear.